settled on basically healthy versus unhealthy ways of coping with pain. So it's basically emotional pain, and it's around divorce, really. I sort of wanted to look at it as the end of a significant relationship. Can I just, before we start real quick, was that because you spoke about that's when you had depression, is that right? It was after the divorce?
Yeah. So I don't know if we talked about this the other day, but I'll go through sort of my journey through that divorce, and then let's see where it goes. I remember, so a couple of things that I remember starting to do yoga and meditation way before separation and divorce discussions were started. And I found that they were easy things that I could do from the comfort of my own home. I had an app, I had a space, I had no interruptions, I made sure I had boundaries. And I began healing and helping myself outside of any sort of relationship thing. I began to work on myself. And I remember an interview that I watched by a guy named Naval. I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm not even going to try. It's Naval. And this guy's brilliant. And he talks about, he exercises every day and he meditates constantly. But the one thing that he wants to do more was yoga. And I was like, wow, this is a grown man. I've never heard, I'm sure there's a whole genre, a niche of people out there, men that love doing yoga, but I've never heard somebody tell me that. And that gave me the ability to say, I can do that. And I want to try it. If this is something that he wants to do and I sort of aspire to be him one day, then I'm going to try it. And I loved it immediately. The next morning I woke up and it was amazing. And
what was the catalyst for, like, so you're saying outside of the relationship, you were reaching for yoga meditation to sort of heal, or so what was that? Were you feeling that the relationship was not working properly? Was that the catalyst?
There's, in hindsight, yeah, right, something subconsciously was like, the energy in this house is off and I'm going to play my part in making it right. I think ultimately it was made right by a separation and divorce. And I think I started to heal myself subconsciously, right? Ultimately, I was just looking for a little bit of peace and a little bit of exercise. I was I'm 50 pounds lighter now than I was then. And I'm way better mentally now than I was then. So I kind of saw myself as like, all right, well, I got to start somewhere. This cost me nothing other than time and attention, and I'm going to invest in myself now.
And then how did that see you through so as the separation became apparent, you made that call, how did it then help you to get through? And I'm really interested in, like, because what I'm noticing a lot that I think people are asking about is that pain that comes up and the way to deal with it rather than run away from it. You know what I mean? So at that point, did you say to yourself, I've discovered something that I can now reach for that is going to help me? But also talk about those moments where you did not reach for the healthy stuff, where you reach for those other things, and how did you join the dots that actually that one is helping me more than that one? Does that make sense?
It does. So there's a couple things. I vividly remembered this one day. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember sitting on my back porch, and it was like a normal Saturday afternoon. The sky was bright, and I just remember this pit in my stomach of realizing this dream or this vision that I had as a boy of growing up in a normal house, in a non-divorced house, and this promise that I made to my 5-year-old self, and then to my then wife and to my young children. I was breaking that promise. I could feel that is starting to happen, and I was crushed. At the same time, when that emotion set in, I remembered feeling like I have nowhere to turn. I'm alone in this fight. I'm a man. I can't talk to XYZ. I can talk to my mom. I can talk to my best friend, but ultimately, I'm alone in this fight, and I got to figure this out. And there's no 911 to call. Like they make you think like you belong in a psychiatric ward, or if you want a therapist, you got to get on a schedule in a week, and you got to figure it out. And the first thing I did, so I can tell you this, I felt the closest thing to what I would consider suicidal in my life.
Yeah.
I felt like I had nothing to live for.
Yeah.
I felt like nobody other than my children would really care if I wasn't here anymore. And I leaned on that. I leaned on the love and the passion and support that they had for me and that I had for them. And it was like they didn't even care what was going on. They just wanted daddy to be okay. And that honestly got me through. I found peace in nature. So I
Yeah.
would go for long hikes. I remember that the day after all of this sort of happened, the day after I went for a very long hike, almost like an all-day hike by myself, and I sat at a pond, and it was a windy day. And I don't know if you've ever looked and just stared at a pond on a windy day, and you can sort of see, the ripples of the small little waves, and you stare at it long enough, and they're almost like communicating with you. They're giving you a sign. They're telling you, like, just keep moving. Keep moving one day at a time, one step at a time, and everything's going to be okay. And don't quit. And if this is the worst that it gets, it's okay. And you're going to wake up tomorrow, and you're going to put your feet on the ground, and you're going to get up, and you're going to do whatever you got to do to get right.
Yeah.
And you do that enough, eventually it happens.
How much of your meditation, yoga, do you think contributed to you being able to have those thoughts after? So you mentioned like not wanting to live anymore. I mean, anyone who's going through that, the intense grief of divorce can probably completely understand that, resonate with that. Even though it sounds really scary to say that out loud, it's actually quite normal. And I think some people get really wiped out by even having that inkling of an idea pop, and then they start to go, oh my God, I'm actually really messed up here. It'd be really important for people to realize that's quite a normal, I wouldn't say every single person would feel that way, but many, many do, because you're in the grip of grief, and people don't really understand how much divorce is like a death. It is like a death of yourself, a death of a dream, a death of your future, everything. Like so many things have died. And so that feeling of what's the point, there's no hope, yeah, that's really normal. So a lot of people struggle so much with that very thought. When you talk about how you were able to come to those thoughts, reframing like one foot in front of the other, I'm going to get through this, how much do you contribute your yoga meditation that you started before you even went through that process? Was that a huge part of that, do you think?
I do. And as I think back at it, like, as you said that, like, I'm starting to connect some dots that I haven't even considered before. Was my subconscious preparing me for what was about to come?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and saying, that's pretty deep. I'm getting chills just thinking about that. Like, that's pretty incredible to sort of piece that together. It's not something that I had considered, but I think there's something to that. Meditation for me is like an instant reset from whatever it is that you're going through. And one of the challenges for me mentally was like trying to figure things out. And meditation was a way of saying, whatever it is you're trying to figure out doesn't really matter. You just need to stop. Let those things go. Let them be thoughts. And I would look at it like a television, and a thought would come, and I'd say, okay, time to change the channel. We're moving on to the next one. And it would allow me to just flush my conscious mind of whatever it was that I was going through. And when you're in the midst of that trauma, for me, it's temporary. It may last for 5 seconds, it may last for 5 minutes, it may last for 5 hours, but I would rinse and repeat, and I would do it, and I felt immediately healed, and I would just go again and go again and go again as much as I could. I would do yoga every day. Over time, I found peace by going to the gym and lifting weights and walking in nature, starting to read books, really just trying to do as much healthy things as I can, and learning more about why is meditation beneficial, and then doing different forms of meditation, finding a guided meditation. Like, that to me is the number one thing. Like, if you're really going through it and you have no idea where to turn to, go on Spotify, go on Apple Music, go on YouTube, and search guided meditation, and start with a 5-minute simple thing. Get through it, find yourself a quiet space, lock the doors, tell your kids, if you come, open this door, I'm taking away your electronics for a week. Like, you've got to set boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
Because shit's about to get real, and this is your time, and you need it. Especially when you're in the middle of a trauma, you got to go for it.
What would your advice be for people who struggle to meditate? Because I find there's a lot of that yoga meditation, and I know from talking to quite a few people that it doesn't work for everybody, or they haven't started it yet, and when they've tried, they get, I went through that too. I'm now all fine with meditation, but when I first started, I found that actually a struggle to sit And you're actually like, this is why I think it's really important you share how you did this, because I'm seeing the benefits here, and I know the benefits myself. What do we say to people when they sit and they like, I get frustrated, and my mind races even more. I've heard, my mind races even more. It's like, how do you get through that? But there, so what were some of the things you said to yourself? Did you experience it, or was it plain sailing for you?
It was never plain sailing. It was never easy. I looked at it like, first of all, my suggestion to anyone getting started is manage your expectations.
Yeah.
The first time you sit down to do a meditation, you're not going to sit there for 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you do, you're going to fall asleep. Like that, your body's and mind is going to get in such a relaxed space that if you did that, you're probably falling asleep. My mother, the first time she did it, did a 5-minute meditation and fell asleep.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of normal. Being in a deep meditative state is very similar to the process that your body goes through when falling asleep. So the first thing I would say is manage your expectations, like be realistic about what you're about to do. The second thing I would say is, set up a quiet space, a private space, find a guided meditation that works for you. There's so many of them out there, and we can put links in the videos for, some of the ones that work really well for us. But for me, meditation is like an exercise. If you go to the gym and you start bench pressing 200 pounds and you haven't been to the gym in 6 months or a year, that weight's going to fall right on your face and you're not going to be able to do it. Start with 30 pounds, start with 5 minutes and get through it, and then build on that every day or twice a day. It's an exercise and you're training your brain.
Yeah. And in alignment with that is that same, you've got to look at it with the mindset of, there is an intention here. I'm doing this for a reason. It kind of sucks in the beginning because I find it very difficult to sit with my thoughts, sit with my pain, or just sit still, but think of the why. Always come back to the why.
That's a huge point, right? So the first thing this triggered another thought. Waking up the next day after going on this hike and going through this trauma, literally the next day, I said, you know what? I'm done with that. Like, today is a new day. And the way that I start today is not the way that I started yesterday and every other day in this past 38 years. Yeah. I am a new man today. And today I'm going to start with a 5-minute guided meditation for creating a positive outlook for today. Yeah. And I'm setting an intention. And anytime this doubt would creep into my mind, no, I'm rejecting it. I'm not allowing that to penetrate my conscious and subconscious mind. Yeah. I'm a new man today.
Yeah. Awesome. So every day is that's another way to look at it too. Every day is another day to start having a better day. And I was the same too. Today is a new day. Sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. It's always good too to just keep reminding it's okay. The bad days come, the down times come. Set the intention the next day. But it's all about intention as well, I think, with meditation. And part of a really strong healing process that I found was really helpful was to actually literally write down. I'm a writer, and I always encourage people to write, but I know some people don't. But even if you just say it verbally, it is my intention to heal today. It is my intention to heal. Keep it in the front of your mind all the time and think of the why. That could be helpful to people who struggle to start. But even just hearing these stories of, knowing that you and I felt that same way and then pushed through and found the benefits might be enough for people to give it that first 5-minute go.
We talked about managing expectations earlier, right? So for me, not every day is like a beautiful sunny, it's like the weather. You have some days that are 90 and sunny and they're beautiful and you're at the beach and you're listening to the birds and all that. Some days you get hurricanes or nor'easters or whatever I don't know what you get in New Zealand, but you get bad days.
We just had a really
you
bad
get
one.
those bad days, and those are the days that make the sunshine days worth it, and they make them special. If every day was 90 and sunny, it wouldn't be special anymore.
Yeah. And managing expectations, that's across the board in life. Days are shit. Days are good and days are shit. And as you get older, you kind of realize that is part of life, and it's about not pushing away those days, and not saying I feel bad, it's wrong to feel bad, I shouldn't feel bad. Actually, why shouldn't you feel bad? You're a human. You're going to go up, you're going to go down. And that's something that, you know, as you've been through these majors, you sort of think, oh, and you come out the other side, you are feeling better, then you get blindsided. It really, it doesn't, I don't think it goes away. And it's not even always to do with, you know, the end of a significant relationship or death.
Mm-hmm. The trick is for me to have a bad day, but don't let that be a bad week or a bad month or a bad year. Break the cycle, wake up the next day with intention, get a good night's rest, whatever you got to do to reset and say, you know what, yesterday I took an L. I'm not taking an L today. Today's going to be a big win. And it starts right now at 6 a.m. when I woke up. Yeah,
absolutely. It's all about the intention. Yeah. Awesome. All right. We have to leave it there. I've got to go. I've got to go to work.
I want to do this again tomorrow.
I know this is gold. It's gold. It really is, isn't it?
It's fun.
Yeah.
It is. It's fun.
Well, I was thinking it's very short. I mean, really short. But I'll just hang on. Let me stop.